Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Governor Cooper has declared June as LGBTQ Pride Month, and we are pleased to be celebrating LGBTQ Pride Month today. And today's program, we are going to review everything in concern with LGBTQ Pride Month, and we are going to start by doing some quick housekeeping here. As usual, we would ask that you keep your microphones on mute throughout the entire session. Please send all of your questions to the chat room. The chat room will be monitored, and we will make sure that all of your questions are answered in an orderly fashion. This session will be recorded, and you will be able to view this program later on demand. Speaking of on-demand recordings, you will be notified of today's program's availability and all of our recent programs when they are ready to be viewed. We are pleased to announce the following upcoming programming. We will have our original program rescheduled for a later date, and I will inform you of that date, but our original speaker will be featured in that program. We are pleased today to have with us our speaker today, Mr. Gerald Spates, and I have the pleasure of introducing him today. Gerald Spates is the director of the Office of Intercultural Engagement, LGBTA Resource Center at North Carolina A&T State University. He has held this position since 2012. He helped to establish multiple special interest groups on campus and is the current advisor to the Collegiate NAACP chapter, PRISM, Estamos Unidos, Aggies for Asia, True Color LGBT, Peer Mentor Program, and the OIE Student Ambassadors. Spates attended the University of Florida, University of South Carolina, Azusa Pacific University, and Nova University. He is a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Alpha Phi Omega National Service, and Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society, and the Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society. I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Gerald Spates. Mr. Spates, Gerald, I'm going to move you to the stage and give you the opportunity to start with the program.
Okay, greetings everyone. I'm really excited to have an opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sure can.
Excellent. Okay, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to present and meet some of you all. I guess informally, as long as it's virtually, it's always informal to me. But I'm really excited for the opportunity, especially to share what services that we offer. As you all know, North Carolina A&T State University is this country's largest historically Black institution, and I'm really proud of the time that I've been here, because especially learning that with all, being the size that we are, which certainly there are institutions much larger, but we're, as an HBCU, it's a very diverse campus. One of our many but important student organizations on our campus is our PRISM student organization, which is one of the organizations that I hope to establish along with our director of in our counseling services department and a group of others, but I think we're the only two who remain with the university. So we're really and I've served as the advisor since the inception of that important organization. But what we're going to be talking a little bit about not just PRISM as an organization, but also our the services that are offered by the LGBT Resource Center. And the first slide here are a couple logos that we use when we are having programs for our office, so that students, if they're not familiar with the department's name, they are quickly become familiar with the logos. The next slide. Okay. And I'm not going to read all of this. So I kind of like highlight, I cheat a little bit to highlight just the important things is that, but the LGBT Resource Center, I'm looking at the highlighted yellow center, provides students with access to programs and provide positive resources and referrals for LGBT Resource Center and um, and other interest in sexual orientation related matters, as well as support strong allyship. When, like any other campus, we have a large size, a very sizable LGBT community, but even more so, a strong allyship on our campus, and we're very proud about that. Next slide. Okay. And you all are smart, so some of this you can pretty much read, but our but with everything, all the presentations that we offer here in the Office of Intercultural Engagement is a mission statement, and we always want to be very clear about what we do and how we're supporting the campus community. And so I'm not going to always read it. I'll let you read it yourself, but I just like to pretty much just give some illustration in terms of what we do. But 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 providing strong mentorship, especially for our LGBT student community, on our campus is really critical, and I'm going to illustrate that in a later slide. And it's really to help to continue to increase greater visibility, but also a vision statement, which we envision, of course, our campus community being a very safe place for our LGBT community, and to make sure that students know that regardless of who they are and how they present themselves, that this is a safe space for them. And we encourage and promote the value of respect and to allow them to be able to engage fully and holistically on our campus. Next. Okay. Learning outcome with every program that we do, there's always crafted learning outcomes so that there's a lot of takeaways when someone may attend, regardless if it's a safe zone training or a program related to national coming out or Transgender Awareness Week or whatever the case may be, because we have a plethora of different programs that are held throughout the year that are well received by our campus community, and we're so excited. So we're going to always present learning outcomes because we want people to have a visible understanding of what it is that we are about and what we're doing, and the great importance of the initiative. Next. Okay, and I'm not going to bore you with all of this here, but this is pretty much the our structure. So, of course, we are led by our provost, and of course, I did some updates, but I forgot to send the correct one. So, Dr. Tanya Smith Jackson is our provost, and who I'm so thankful for, as well as Dr. Melanie Pierce, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, and you can see pretty much the different entities and how we operate here within the Office of Intercultural Engagement to provide holistic support for all of our diverse communities. Next slide. Okay. PRISM, and this tells you a little bit more about our PRISM student organization, as well as True Colors. And I'm going to explain real quickly in a nutshell, because I know it's lunchtime and we're going to stay within our lunchtime so that we can also get some questions asked. For PRISM, when we established the PRISM student organization back in 2000, I think it was maybe 2013, 14 on our campus. And that was really because of an outcry. And you can read as I talk, for the community to be supported on our campus. True Colors is an LGBT mentoring group for our first year students on our campus. And this initiative came about when we learned probably about 8 or 9 years ago, a lot of our students were transferring out regardless of all of the intentional efforts that we were making to retain students on our campus. But apparently we were still missing some pieces. And so we established this mentoring program in which so that we're able, so with True Colors, when we came about with True Colors, is that I worked with some of the student leaders in PRISM, formerly called Proud, and then they changed the name to PRISM, to craft a mentoring component, and so that we can match first year students with upper class students who are part of the LGBT community, as well as some of those students are also allies, and but who are intentional and very committed to support the community, because one of the things that we were committed to seeing is that, or making sure that we didn't lose students because students didn't feel that there was support here. And now I can honestly say, I think last year to maybe a year and a half ago, we were listed as the number fourth institution, I think HBCU, in the country to offer great services for our students. And I think that has played, a True Colors initiative has played a tremendous role with that, in addition to what PRISM has helped to do. The Office of Intercultural Engagement is pretty much the umbrella of all the other initiatives, which provides, and I guess it's important to really tell you, we provide a broad understanding, appreciation, and value for campus-wide and global diversity. The office provides leadership to promote campus-wide awareness of multicultural diversity and human relations-related issues through education, training, and community service and programs. And we also provide oversight of so many other initiatives, as you saw earlier, which includes our meditation space, of course, the LGBT Resource Center, and we have a very successful meditation and reflection space. Counseling services. Oh, oh, got to put that on mute. I'm sorry. Counseling services is one of our primary staples of organizations that we work with. Let me turn this off. I apologize, you all. Counseling services is one of the primary areas because we have so many students who come to us. And so we have a really direct link to counseling services to make sure that we are getting students, because students are in different places where they are in terms of coming to understand who they are as individuals, and especially as it relates to their sexual orientation in some regard, and we want to make sure that we are providing and connecting them with the appropriate services. But not only that, we have a lot of outreach with a lot of our community agencies and groups that we partner with to support our campus community. Next slide. Okay, and this is some pictures. I love to illustrate how our attractive space. The LGBTA Resource Center officially opened in 2020. It was adopted in 2019, but when the new Students Center opened, it wasn't a part of the original plan, but it became. And so this is what that space looks like right now. Every year, and it's a very viable space on campus, and we accommodate nearly 6,000 students in that space on a yearly basis. Monthly, the numbers are just out of this. They just skyrocket with regard to the number of students who are in that space to study, participate in programs and attend different resources and different events that we offer in collaboration with not only other departments on campus, but especially our PRISM student organization have a strong tie into being able to use and access this space. Um, and so we're really proud of it and the different services that we offer on a regular basis. Next slide. Okay. Yeah, this is, and this pretty much is an illustration because we were formerly called the Multicultural Student Center. So I'm paying attention, but I always think this is an important slide to always show that when we were getting ready to launch the opening of the LGBT Resource Center, this is some of what we were sharing, and it was exciting to see the excitement that we were bringing on campus about that space, and again, we are just absolutely elated about what is happening in that space. Next slide. Okay. Yeah, a grand opening, had a wonderful grand opening. It's just that on that particular day, also, I think we had a real bad snowstorm, but when we had the grand opening, so we had a real quick opening, and then we were able to close down before crazy snow because it was in February when it happened. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of history. That's what some of these slides are. Next slide. Okay, and so you can see from a collaborative how broad our office or department is with regard to different heritage and cultural programs and that function out of the area on an annual basis. And of course, each month there's always something going on in collaboration. God, that turns off. Get my phone, please. So every month there's something going on from, especially as it relates to the LGBT community, from World AIDS Day to Transgender Awareness, National Coming Out Day. We have just we continue to work with our student communities to make sure that we are attentive and we're providing the different types of programs that they would like to see. Next slide, please. And special opportunities from every semester, fall and spring, we will offer an open house. And I'm just going to run through some of these real quickly. An open house, fall and spring open house for our campus community, and which turns out a large percentage of students and also in terms of our graduation recognition ceremonies, there's a diversity and lavender cord graduation ceremony that's held on our campus. Safe Zone has been one of the very, very popular training that we have offered on our campus to help educate and inform and familiarize our campus community, meaning of course, our faculty, staff, and our student leaders, especially about the LGBT community and how to understand and navigate a lot of the terminology that's used nationwide and around the country. And of course, we've have had a lot of success with that. And just down below is just again some of the things that were mentioned, some of the organizations that the office, while we provide a lot of support to all of our special interest groups, but there is only a handful that we do have our hands on in terms of in an advisory capacity. Next slide, please. Okay. Yes. Yes. These are just different pictures, and I'm going to, for my grand opening, that wonderful cake. It was pretty tasty too. At the time when we had the grand opening. the even years before we were at a point of having discussion about opening a center on our campus, we collaborated with the city of Greensboro to host, which was called the Vision of Pride event, and which allowed us to accommodate well over 500 students from around the state, from other institutions who came to our campus. It was on a Saturday in which we were able to host a drag show, and and it was just such a. And of course, it was at our football field, and it was such a great event on our campus. And of course, at the bottom, to my left, your right, probably. It was this one we had the grand opening, and all the three at the bottom, the two center at the bottom, was at the chancellor's house, in which the chancellor allowed invited members of PRISM and student leaders who were part of the LGBT community to his house, so that he can just to have dinner with us and learn about what the needs are. And I think that's very critical because it shows that we have leadership who are intentional and really in support of making sure that we are supporting all of our students on our campus. Next slide. Okay. And these are some of the great looking faces. And some, of course, some of them have gone. This is also still an illustration of having dinner with the chancellor and the and the lovely first lady at the chancellor's house. Next slide. I have a lot of slides here, but I go through them real quickly. And these are also some additional slides. It's just some of how we had our grand opening for the LGBT Resource Center, and just some of the resources that we provide. We provide everything that students can possibly imagine or think they need in collaboration, not only with counseling services, but also we collaborate with our health center, Gifford Green, and so many other community partners, such as Greensboro Triad, the Greensboro Health Center, to make sure that we're providing all those different resources and support for our campus community. Next slide, please. Okay, yes. University LGBTQIA plus flags. Yeah, this is always something, some information that really blow a lot of people out of the water, because they've never seen some of these. And of course, when we have if you've attended a safe zone training, you've probably been exposed to some of this. But we really, whenever we do a presentation about the space and the services that are offered, we continue to try to refresh and refamiliarize our colleagues or our campus community about what some of these flags and symbols really mean. Next slide. Okay, so continue. So just a continuation here. At the very bottom center is what we use for our campus-wide safe zone training. As you all know, safe zone is not a concept that was developed by any one campus. It was developed a while ago, and what we did, like most campuses, that we took the safe zone training and modified a great training module for our faculty, staff, administrators, and students to accommodate our campus community. And again, it's been so successful, and it's really amazing the number of and the size of our colleagues to have gone through safe zone training, on a volunteer basis. Next slide. Okay. Yeah, National LGBT Observance. And I was talking a little bit about going back up on this one. Some of the things that we try to work with our LGBT community is to make sure that they are equipped and they are aware and they're able to network with other campus communities. So we believe in taking our students to different conferences around the state and within the southern region, especially. We have a very, very strong relationship with the Human Rights Campaign Foundation. And I can honestly say we're lucky, we're very fortunate that I think on average we are able to send at least 4 to 5 students to HRC every year when they have this initiative. And it's a special initiative that they bring, that they host, the HRC will host for for nationwide historically Black institutions, so that so that there's an intention to show support for those campus communities. But also, Elon University is a university not terribly far from where we are here in Greensboro. It's just right outside of the area and they host a wonderful conference. But some of the national observances, again, as I was mentioning, is illustrated right here from our Transgender Day of Visibility, Pride Week. We have Pride Week, we host a Prism Week, LGBT History Month, International Lesbian Day, National Coming Out, Transgender Remembrance, and World AIDS Day, and more. And a lot of this is done in concert with our student leaders on our campus. Next slide, please. Okay. And this is just a broad and comprehensive list of many of the diversity program opportunities that are offered. Everything from our diversity leadership conferences and retreats that I've already talked about, but also I think one of the best modules I think we've had in addition to PRISM has been our OIE student ambassadors. And because many of those students they come from so many different backgrounds, but they've been so instrumental, that particular organization or student auxiliary group under the auspices of the OIE, the Office of Intercultural Engagement. And they're really our eyes and ears about what's happening on campus, so that when things are going on, that students, but especially and mostly when it's been addressing students because of their sexual identity, if there are issues that are happening, they help to bring that information to me so that I can help to offset and help address those specific issues on campus on an administrative level. And I mentioned just some of the diversity presentations that we offer, which is in the middle. And so, so the list goes on and on. And even with some of the training, not only do these trainings transcend or happen within the OIE or the LGBT Resource Center, but also with course curriculum. Often some of the faculty may invite myself and a contingency of students to come to their clients to help talk about specific issues as relate that supports curriculum discussion on our campus. And so we're really excited, always excited when we get a chance and when we're invited to come in and talk, so that we can bring some level of awareness. And that level of awareness is just really increasing cultural competency within our campus community holistically. Next slide, please. And see, I'm really quick. Half an hour in, so I wanted to save some time I wanted to really get through the presentation so that I can ask whatever questions that you may have about not only what we're doing, um, um, but about what our campus community or whatever questions that you all may have. But this is our contact information. And we also, I think what helps us quite a bit is that our brochures, we have a very comprehensive brochure that we offer that highlights, that outlines not only a lot of what you saw, but the LGBT Resource Center that goes out, that's made available to the university campus community, but also the PRISM student organization each year when the leadership comes, when new leadership comes in, so that they're connecting with new students on our campus. They provide a comprehensive brochure, and the over, I think the most comprehensive and overriding piece is the OIE, the Office of Intercultural Engagement, because this gives information about all the different services that comes out of our area. So, all right, so we can open it up for any questions that may be there.
Gerald, thank you so much for your presentation and your information about what's going on the campus at North Carolina A&T State University. Most of the people that are in our program today, we're a part of the HR community for our state agencies and universities. And one of the main questions that we get is how can we be better allies to members of the LGBTQ community?
Mm-hmm. I think really, I think, and this is from my own personal practice, um, being very intentional and very out front with having being willing to have the conversation so that students are not, especially students are not afraid to ask for help or ask for not just help, but maybe some assistance or direction. Um, because many of them are coming. Well, let me just say it this way: who better to tell us what the needs are than the student community? But also, but in every presentation, in every situation, when you're involved in um, when the campus communities or your area is involved in meeting with students, being able to address that. Because, one of the things that I've found to be very helpful for us has been our student allies. They have been on our campus who are not a part of the LGBT community, but because they have friends and or fraternity brothers or sorority sisters or members who are in leadership initiatives who are part of the community who don't know where to ask for help and or to get answers about XYZ. And so, but being very forthright. And I think as HR, continue to encourage not only staff, but when you when new fac when new faculty staff um, are there, always make a component of the conversation a part of the presentation that's put before them. But not only that, you have faculty and staff who are coming to our campus who are also part of the community who don't know how to come out, and not that they have to or should feel that they have to, but also but to understand it. And I think we run into a lot of issues. When we have had some issues, it's that especially with some faculty or staff individuals who may not have understand or members of the community who are transgender, the transgender community, because that's a scary notion for a lot of people, but it's not anything that's new. The LGBTQIA plus community has been on these college campuses since the dawn of the dinosaur. Something I always use, and they've always been here, maybe not as visible as they are today. So we cannot waste time to be afraid to have those conversations or to let the campus community or let your constituents know that that the community is supported. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. I've gotten several requests for you to share the links of all of those brochures that you just showed us.
Okay.
So,
Yes, I will definitely do that. Yeah, yeah, I would definitely. Should I send those to you?
you can send them to me, and
Okay.
I will make sure that
Sure.
they have the information.
Sure.
Also, is student health able to dispense or help with transition hormone therapy?
Yes, in terms of providing information, but they also do not only that, they have a great collaborative relationship with with not only, for example, Gifford County Health Department, but the different agencies. Like, for example, we have, in fact, I happen to have some right here in front of me too. They're called, for us, is the Triad Health Project. Of course, the Gifford County Health Department, and Avita, and Gifford Green, which is a LGBT foundation for the LGBT and LGBT Center. So, you know, and providing that information and that resources, because I want it's very important for us that our campus community be not only become familiar with the services that are offered here on campus, but also that's out there in the community. Often, students are not, especially students, they're not sometimes comfortable with seeking help or getting assistance for their own personal reasons, and that's respected and understood on campus. So we always want to make sure that that they have that information about and from a have the information related to the local agencies that they can also that we can direct them to in the community for that.
Thank you. And I saw that you had a lot of programming listed that goes on throughout the year. So you may have already answered this, but because you are, students are away for a lot of June, how do you celebrate Pride Month on your campus, or do you just supplement with programs throughout the year?
Just throughout the year round, because you know, yeah, yeah, yeah. I would one of the things, yeah, throughout actually every month as it relates to the LGBT community specifically, we host several events. Some not just educational, but many of them are also social, so that they're healthy gatherings. This year we have, as an example, we've hosted our second annual Pride Prom on our campus, but in the LGBT Resource Center, there's I think we call it uh, something. What is it? Something. It's a fun term. I'm looking at my calendar up here. It's but it's every Friday. It's called it's Fourth Friday. Yeah, Fourth Friday, where we just have food. Sometimes they may do karaoke, and and they're performing. Students are performing, because one of the things that's important to us is that on campus we want to continue to bring some normalcy of the campus community, and that's not saying that we expect all of our people, everyone, to be out, because that simply isn't the case. um, People need to be comfortable in the space that they're in. However, the but the resources are here. And I think we've done such a great job at that, to the fact that I'm really proud to say, as even as a heterosexual male, that students will come in and they're so comfortable with coming in and saying, I don't know what they want to talk to me about. Can I close the door? Absolutely. And we'll close the door, and they know that there's no judgment here, but support, and I provide some reassurance. And certainly, I've dealt with so many students who have been struggling with their identity, and their families are certainly not aware of their um, uh, of their struggles, and 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 it's important that we continue, especially the staff and even my student leaders have done, they learn quickly, or without any confusion, um, that we're here to protect and support our campus community, regardless of who a person is, and offer the different resources. And again, a lot of the things I wouldn't know if we're not for I think our student leaders sharing with me. If something were to happen or going on, that because I'm home, I get a phone call or or a text message, and so I can help address that. So I think we're really hitting it on the head. And and I speak of it as though it's an anomaly, but I certainly, prior to coming to North Carolina E&T, as my first HBCU experience was, I didn't anticipate um, the level of openness, but I'm so happy to see that our students are here. They're proud. They're coming to us, um, just so ready to be who they are. And I love it. For example, of course we're going through our new student orientation process right now, and that parents are coming to us, and they're so excited when they see our resource table, and that we're offering resources and information, so that because they really want to also be sure that their sons and daughters are going to be safe, and this is a safe environment, and we definitely do all that we can to reassure them that they will be.
Gina, do you have any questions that are coming in the chat, or do you have any questions?
I don't.
And anyone who is listening, they can certainly call me if they have any questions privately, that they want to know, or something that may um, fall on their heart later on. I'm certainly welcome, and and available to support in any way possible.
I'd like to second that notion for you reaching out for contact, because you would be a great contact for anyone looking to establish an employee resource group, because you have so many programs, and it extends itself beyond the LGBTQ plus community, but you would be a great resource for that. So thank you for offering your services.
You're so welcome.
Someone else wanted to thank you for your your efforts to support the students, because I know as a student at a HBCU many years ago, these types of resources were not available for our students, and to see these types of things now be on HBCU campuses, it's very important. That they have those resources where they feel they can be, students feel that they can be their authentic selves in and outside of the classroom.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And that's so. Even with that statement, we can talk about the LGBT, the gay and lesbian and bisexual, but even when we talk about transgender, that's a whole nother level of awareness, that that's a lot of people don't understand, because a person can be part of the transgender community and not necessarily be gay or lesbian. And that throws, of course, that throws a monkey wrench into a lot of people. But to understand what all that means, and then when we're dealing with it's not even an issue, but dealing with the whole the paradigm of pronouns and what all that means, and how fluent pronouns can be, but how fluent an individual can be. And I've been doing this work, diversity, and work for a very long time at a lot of institutions across the country, from Penn State to Tulane to Western Kentucky and UNC Charlotte. And I'm still learning, but um, I'm so excited again about the space I'm in, because I know that I'm providing the support and help that students um, not just need, but they deserve to have.
Do you find that you get a lot of faculty and staff participation as well?
Oh, absolutely, quite a few, and we have different events on campus, and especially if we are able to advertise well enough, which is always our intention, but oftentimes things are not seen, but faculty and staff will come and participate or even call. And the great thing about it is that when faculty especially, when they are dealing with issues in the classroom because of something they don't understand, that they will, if they want some understanding, it makes me feel very happy, the fact that they will reach out to our office to ask questions, so that they will have a better understanding of how to navigate that space, and how to also, not only that, but to protect the privacy of a student. Because for me, when we're dealing with students, I like for students to be able to take ownership in terms of sharing their story or their narrative, or in terms of who they are. And regardless of how that comes out, you know what, they're protected. They know they're protected and safe. And I give a lot of thanks to our chancellor, our provost, and our vice chancellor of student affairs here, and even our HR has been just tremendous. They've given tremendous support on our campus.
Getting comments now of thank you for planting seeds of change and assisting others in being their true selves. And you stated that you have many years of experience in diversity and inclusion work. How did you get into this space?
By accident. when I it, you know it felt my I had every intention after graduate school to do something completely different, even law school, and it called me, and I think it's been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Yeah, it really has been a rewarding experience, because I don't think there's other than the arduous task of all the paperwork that we all have to deal with on a daily basis. But when you're dealing with students, I don't think there's any one day quite like the next, because I don't know what to expect. Um, and that's the fun part of it. So it's clearly by accident, but it was definitely intended for me to be where I am, or to be where I am, or in terms of in this line of work.
It's usually the way it happens.
Yeah, it definitely called me.
Do you have any other questions from the chat at all? I think you covered everything so well that they They just want to see more about the resources that you offer. But I just want to thank you again personally for coming and doing this program today. We really do appreciate you coming out. I do have one last question, and they want to know a little bit more about PRISM. Could you tell us a little bit more about PRISM and what it stands for?
Oh, well, actually, believe it or not, it's really when they came up with the name, because the original name was called Proud, People's Recognizing Our Individual Differences. And about several years ago, a group came to me, and so because I advised the group with a petition to change the name, if that's what you want. And so there really isn't any. These are not acronyms to anything other than PRISM. It's like when you think of a light shining through, and it shines through. So this is pretty much the logo that they operate from, but they pretty much that student-centered alliance, and they just do a wonderful job um, to provide outreach and support on a really on a daily basis. But they work pretty much in concert with my office, because especially when resources are needed. And one of the things that I always try to remind them is that I don't want them to think about the fact that they can afford something or not. It could regard with regard to a speaker or a different conference, or it's because our leadership has been so helpful in helping to provide those different resources if and when we have needed them. But they've done such a great job with programming and 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 allowing students to feel comfortable in this space as a student organization on campus. And they've been so viable and so strong. And I don't have time to micromanage them, but I just work with them to help them to navigate within the space, and to understand what the university, some of the things that they need, some of the do's and don'ts, um, and um, um, and the leadership that I've had in PRISM in the last several years have been, phenomenal. And so as long as the organization continues to do what it's been doing, I feel that North Carolina A&T is in a good space to continue to support and provide the appropriate level of advocacy for our student community. I hope that answered all of your that question.
Oh, yes, it did. It definitely did. And Gerald, I would like to again just thank you so much for coming out and speaking with us today. We are really grateful for you being able to do that. And as we bring our program to a close, once again, I want to thank you, Gerald, for being here with us this afternoon. And I hope that this session has given you a much clearer understanding of how we can support diversities within the workplace, and to give you a more clear understanding of the PRISM organization. We're excited to have the opportunity for your organization to present what they do on the campus that enriches the experience for all at North Carolina A&T. And I would just like to say that take the time to continue to celebrate Pride Month, and happy Pride. Yes. And this will conclude our program. But before we go, again, I just want to let everyone know that you will receive an announcement from me for the original programming. That date of the program, I will send out a note and inform all of you of the date of that program. But again, celebrate Pride Month and have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Take care. Bye, everyone.